How far would you go to survive? To what extremes are you willing to go if it comes down to your survival? Would you kidnap people from faraway lands, bring them to your settlement and eat them? Would you resort to cannibalism? Apparently, Neanderthals in a cave system in Belgium had to go to these sort of extreme lengths to ensure their survival, practicing cannibalism. But not of their own people, no. After new research has been conducted on bones that were found in the past, researchers discovered that Neanderthals in a cave system near the modern-day town of Goyet in Belgium brought outsiders in to eat them. My name is Kaylee, and in this video we are going to talk about a little bit of a gruesome subject, which is cannibalism of women and children. If this is a topic that you are sensitive of, I suggest you click away now instead of leaving very angry comments that I decided to create this video. I understand that some video topics may be a little bit too much for some people, but at the same time, this is still part of researching humanity's ancient past, and there are a lot of people who are interested in learning more. So if this video is not for you, that's all good, no worries, and I will see you in the next video with probably a much lighter subject. But with that said, let's dive right in and talk about what researchers have uncovered about Neanderthal cannibalism. The largest collection of bones of Neanderthals in Northern Europe is found in the Troisième Caverne, which are limestone karst caves that are found near the modern-day town of Goyet in the country of Belgium. And these bones have quite the story to tell us. So during the Middle Paleolithic, between 45,500 and 40,500 years ago, Neanderthals lived in the Troisième Caverne, and they have left us quite some evidence of their occupation. The first excavations in this cave system were carried out by geologist and paleontologist Edouard Dupont in 1867 and 1868, in which thousands of bones belonging to humans and large mammals were found, as well as hand axes, bone needles, a harpoon, necklaces made from wolf teeth and turritella shells, a decorated antler staff, a knife from a human rib, and flutes made from bones. In the 1950s, the cave site has been regularly rented out to amateur archaeologists, which led to numerous artifacts from the caves ending up in private collections, instead of being on display in the Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Sciences, which is quite a bit of a shame. This led to protection of the site in 1976, so that amateurs are no longer allowed to just rent it out with their, big bucks, swoop in and take artifacts without these artifacts being scientifically studied. Excavations between 1998 and 2004 uncovered new areas where the archaeologists discovered a 12-year-old child's grave dating back to 5,000 years ago. So we know that Neanderthals lived in and around this cave system between 45,500 and 40,500 years ago, occupying this area for roughly 5,000 years. So during all the excavations done by archaeologists, they have discovered 99 bones belonging to at least 6 different Neanderthal individuals in the Troisième Caverne up until this point in time. In 2006, the researchers analyzing these bones discovered that around 1/3 of the bones, mainly those of the lower limbs, showed traces of cannibalism. Traces like, for instance, cut marks, notches, and circular impacts. We know that ritualistic cannibalism was practiced around the world at various points in time, and it has been observed that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens both practiced ritualistic cannibalism at some point in time, in various locations. A key piece of evidence of ritualistic cannibalism is that the bones are much less worked and broken than with cannibalism for food. But the research conducted in 2016 didn't reveal more information to us besides the fact that these 6 individuals having, died, and the fact that they were cannibalized after death. But that was kind of it, back in 2016. But who did these bones belong to? For a long time, researchers were unsure whether these bones belonged to individuals who lived in the area in which the bones were found, or if they came from elsewhere. And now in 2026, we finally have more answers. Researchers have now combined genetics, isotope analysis, and a detailed study of morphology to sketch a biological portrait of the cannibalized individuals. After thorough DNA analysis, the researchers uncovered the fact that the 4 adult or adolescent victims were all women, and that 2 of the victims were male children, one of them being between 6.5 and 12.5 years of age, and the other child being an actual infant. The 4 women all belong to different maternal lineages, and the composition of the victims, women and children, without adult men, reflects a very deliberate selection of victims by these cannibals. Analysis of the sulfur isotopes in the bones revealed that the victims all came from a whole other region. How were researchers able to determine this? You might ask yourself, so I'll quickly explain. Sulfur is stored in bones and teeth through diet and drinking water, and the isotopic composition of the sulfur varies by region, and it's particularly influenced by soil and rocks. So the sulfur composition in the victims differed from the sulfur composition of the inhabitants in the region in which their bodies were found, which means that they lived in another region and were brought here to be cannibalized. Bringing victims from elsewhere into your settlement to then eat them is often called exocannibalism, which is the consumption of individuals belonging to one or more external groups. But how can we be sure that the cannibalization occurred for food and not for ritualistic purposes? Because, we know that ritualistic cannibalism was practiced by Neanderthals at some point in time, in various locations. But with ritualistic cannibalism, the bones are much less worked and broken than with cannibalism for food. So the corpses of the victims found here in the 3e cavern seem to have been skinned and filleted like animals, and the bones were smashed and cracked to be able to extract the marrow, which is a highly caloric soft tissue. And the researchers discovered that 4 bones were later used to sharpen flint tools. So the Neanderthal remains found here in the cave were processed in the exact same ways as the animal remains that were also found in these caves that were processed by Neanderthals to extract food, which suggests that the inhabitants of the cave practiced cannibalism for food. The female victims that were found also showed signs of having much less robust bodies than those of the Neanderthals from other sites in this region. This was discovered during analysis of the internal structures of the fragmented femurs and tibias. The women were also smaller of stature than most other Neanderthal women from other locations. They were only around 1.50 meters in height, and this reinforces the hypothesis that these specific individuals were targeted. So the discovery of the victims and now the subsequent thorough analysis of their bones lead to the researchers concluding that these Neanderthal women and children who lived elsewhere were taken and brought to the area of modern-day Goyet, to the 3e cavern, and that they were consumed after death. While gruesome, this is actually behavior that we have already observed in chimpanzees in modern times. The purpose for exocannibalism is to weaken neighboring populations and/or assert territorial control. And cannibalism also exists during conflicts between human groups as well, which is very well documented in ethnoarchaeology. So the result of this study that was conducted over the past 10 years of these bones provide us all food for thought. Kind of pun intended. And the results indicate possible conflicts between human groups at the end of the Middle Paleolithic, which was a period in time where Neanderthal groups were dwindling and Homo sapiens were in full expansion in Northern Europe. The researchers are unable to rule out that Homo sapiens were the cannibals, but they lean way more towards Neanderthals being the cannibals. And this is because some of the fragmented bones were also used to retouch stone tools, sharpen flint tools, which is a practice mainly used by Neanderthals, and a practice that we have rarely discovered among Homo sapiens. What do you think of this quite gruesome subject? The cannibalization of Neanderthal women and young children more than 41,000 years ago. let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed watching, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more of these kind of videos, and click that bell icon if you want to be notified whenever I upload. If you haven't seen my previous videos yet, click the card on the upper right corner, or click one of the links in the description down below, or click a video in the end card. Yeah, I cater to you. I make a lot of videos. I've got more than 360 videos on the channel by now. So yeah, a lot of stuff for you to watch. I would also like to say a massive thank you to my patrons and my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting me. And yeah, Happy New Year. This was my first video in this year, and I will see you very soon, because I'm back. Okay, bye.